Hello and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, your host, the wealth track and property coach and director of the KML Group and Home Hug Limited. And with me, I have my lovely partner, Kung. Say hello to everybody.
Hello.
And today we're going to discuss about something that most people don't really ever consider when starting a business. And that is the realities of being in a business when you are trying to in a relationship when you're trying to get a business off the ground because of how much time it actually consumes. So if you just bear with me one moment while I just make sure that the sound check is all good. Okay, that looks like people can hear me. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's begin. So the realities of being in a relationship when you're trying to run a business, because when you initially start, it's going to take up so much more of your time than you actually realize. Every waking second you need to spend on your business if you want it to be a success. And I'm really not underestimating the amount of time that you would have to spend, like really, really a lot of time. So for example, I would go to work on a Monday. So I would travel down I used to be in the military. I still kind of am. I would then work a full week. And on Friday afternoon, I would then have a fleeting visit to my partner. And then I'd go away and I would market for the whole weekend. And not many people were prepared to put up with that. Like most relationships would fall apart. Like there would be some, like every so often we'd see each other for maybe a weekend, once a month. It was very much 5 years of a long distance relationship from when we got involved in property. Would you say that's true?
Exactly. But I totally understand because you do it for the future of us. That's what inside of me, the telling myself.
Yeah, so in contrast, at my previous relationship, I used to get hassled if I didn't come back at the weekend. But with me doing this involved in business, I would work all week and then it would just be basically texts and phone calls, and then I'd be off to my chosen city or chosen town to do my marketing for my deals. And like every available second I was spent on the business. So it very much neglected the relationship. But because we had an understanding from the beginning that we were going to do this, it was very much everything was explained. And the time that we did get, because we probably only been on like 1 or 2 holidays in the last 6 years together, and only recently now we've moved in together. And so we've been together 6 years, and this is probably the longest we've been together, and it's about 3 weeks. So literally from when I started the business about 6 years ago, constantly working, it's only really the past month that we've actually spent time together properly, and then we're finally learning about each other and all our nuances. And it wouldn't have been possible for the relationship to continue unless we had that understanding from the very beginning of like, this is what I'm going to do. I need you not to hassle me. I need you not to make my life harder. And it was very much, you were very helpful in terms of supporting me and everything that I wanted to do, as opposed to making my burden harder, because it is really, really hard when you're trying to get ahead on the property business. And I know other people out there who haven't got their wives on board or haven't got their partners on board, and their journey is going to be so much harder because of it. And so you, again, from moving on from last week's episode, where having your inner circle is so key. And very much there were times where I was questioning myself, having self-doubt. And if I had someone who didn't want me in the business, they could have very easily influenced me, and I could have just stopped there and then. Whereas you were remember why we were doing it, remember think to the finish. There's always going to be hurdles. Nothing is ever smooth. It's like you've been fighting my corner from the very beginning, haven't you, dear?
It's fun.
And because there's a couple of times where I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working? I'm doing everything that people are telling me to, like the successful people in the industry are saying, do this, do this, do this. And I was doing it and I was still failing. And people who know me, I'm quite when I started off, I was quite a negative person. I didn't believe that it all could work. Even though I was making good money, I assumed that everyone was trying to make a fast buck. And in reality, it's 50-50. But without your support, definitely, I wouldn't have been able to continue with some of the hurdles that we came across. And like, what's been the most difficult thing for you in the past 5 years, 6 years that we've been together? because we haven't really had a proper relationship, have we? It's been business first, work first, and then occasionally we sneak a day or sneak an hour here.
I would say when you deployed to Afghan was 6 or 9 months.
9 months, yeah.
Yeah, because people surrounded me just, how can you be how can you cope with yourself? Are you all right? I know that they're quite concerned of me, but when people come to you and putting some of the concerning, it made me more nervous.
Yeah.
Even inside, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I try to not panic or try to be calm, but the more people I face, the more I got this type of concern to me that made me, oh my god, should I start that? And it's quite hard to communicate with you as well. The signal and stuff like that. Sometimes we can't communicate or anything, but that's fine. But
so, for example,
I had to.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
When we're talking about how much time the business took up, I went away for 9 months and I had a 2-week holiday in the middle. And on that 2-week holiday, we didn't spend time together. I went on a course to learn more about property. I went on the Deal Maker Intensive, just to solidify everything that I'd learned. And you really have to jump like straight in. And for me, it was very much of a case of you either come with, I'm on this journey, you can either come with me and help me, that'll be great. But if you don't, that's fine too. Because I couldn't have people holding me back. And when fortunately, you were the one that pushed me into property anyway. I had a lot of drive, but it wasn't really focused anywhere. And then Kung was the one who actually introduced me to Vincent Wong. And then from the word go, I was just on. Do you ever regret taking me to that seminar and seeing the direction?
No, not at all, because I can see the potential in you. And that's why I can't force you. You are the type of person that...
No one can force me. Let's get that straight.
I just, introduce you. I just offer you and then just leave it on the table. And then, you might not going or going. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's better than I do nothing. So
Exactly.
Just put it.
For me as well, I'm very fortunate that I have a Kung, because when things go wrong, man, I am a horrible person to be around. And I'm very, very, very outspoken, and there'll be very often Kung will try and speak to me. I'll be like, listen, I'm doing something, go away. And then I have to go and apologize with my tail in between my legs later on. Because this is why I've got the office, so I can close the door and I can still have no interruptions. I can still do the podcast, for example, because I've still got a lot of work to do this evening. And you've got to have your whole family on board. You've got to have your friends on board, because they're going to knock you off your train tracks. They're going to knock you and divert your journey if they're not on board or not with you with where you need to go, because you're going to fail at some things. Everyone does. It's not that you're perfect or you're imperfect, because we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. You're going to go on the training and you're still going to make these mistakes, just like I did. And only when it hurts you and you're really down on your luck and you're like, God damn, I cannot do that again. I cannot pay the builders before I have a contract. And you're going to need people around you to pick you up and not knock you down. Okay, right. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. Thank you, Natalie and AJ. So, hi, Dan. The strength of a relationship will depend on both of you and the will or want to build that bond. Very much so, very much so. But even the strongest relationships can begin to fritter and fray if you're not spending time with each other. And that's why you've got to really sort of, at the beginning, explain how dedicated you need to be to this. So if there's a family do and there's a business meeting or a viewing, or you need to market that weekend, you're going to the marketing. You're not going to the family event. You're not going out on a Friday, Saturday night because you're putting up bandit boards. You're going to be leafleting. You're meeting with clients. You're going to events. You're networking. That has to be your whole life. You have to really immerse yourself in that life. You cannot just half-heartedly go into it, because you'll spend all this money on the teaching, and then you won't be marketing every day. You won't be making new contacts. You won't be putting offers in every day. And then we'll have chats in the future, and obviously how things are going, and it'll be like, things are not really going on. I'm getting hassled with this. I'm getting hassled with that. And you shouldn't be coming to me with your problems like that. That should be your partner, and your partner should be going like, listen, let's do this. Like, because you're going to bounce off each other. They're going to have bad days. You're going to have bad days. But if you're in the business, you are going to have a lot of bad days, and you're going to really lean upon those around you. I'm speaking from my personal experience. I've had probably more bad than good, and only now we're getting better and better and better, probably the last like year or so. But like, for example, this is how committed I was for the business. I never went on holidays, never spent on luxuries. For the past 5 years, we've lived in a room together. We've never had a home. We've never rented because I wanted to save, to invest more. We always were really frugal. My newest set of clothes are work clothes. Like, I haven't bought any clothes. Like, the only time I get new clothes is when we go to Thailand so we can get them knockoff. But really, and that's going to impact you because no presents, no birthday presents. We didn't do any of that. We really lived frugally because really I don't remember what I got 4 years ago or 10 years ago, but I certainly appreciate what we've got now in terms of the income that we've got. And so only a very few people would accept that. Very few people would accept not the romance, not having the nice lifestyle, like delayed gratification. That seems to be a concept that's very alien to a lot of people, where you offset the gratification today so you can invest it perhaps, or you can learn or invest it in training. And then slowly but surely in the future, if you plant the seeds, you then begin to get wealth growth. And pretty much every available spare money that I had was on courses, more courses, advertising. I never spent anything on luxuries. It's only really now that the house is ready. It's the first time in 6 years I've spent any money on luxuries. And you've got to find people who are going to willing to go through all the muck and mire so you can sort of like have the life at the end of it. Because what you'll notice is that people will change. No one will really respect your decision until you've really made it and considered a success. People will think you're a bit weird. People will think you're a bit crazy, especially when you're going out. For me, going out on a Friday night and I was driving up to Hartlepool, knocking on doors on Saturday morning, and I had no one to talk to this about, only people within the inner circle and my partner. And sometimes it can get really lonely because when you're doing it on your own, and then you've got your partner there, and you can say like, listen, maybe I'll have a weekend here, but you can't. You need that partner to say, listen, you need to go and market again. You haven't found the next deal, and it really, really does compound your success if you've got somebody who's on board and somebody who's supporting you and helping you out. What do you think is the biggest struggle then with being with me because now things are a lot comfortable, but initially they weren't. There was lots of days where things went wrong, especially with the first couple of Hartlepool deals, where the builders ran out and then we looked like we were losing money. So like our first deal that we did together, we broke even, probably lost a couple of £1,000, but there was a time where I went away for 9 months and then you get like a nice big chunk of leave, like 8-7 weeks of leave. And that we didn't spend that together. I went up to Hartlepool and then I learned I had to get some trades together to try and save this deal. Because I would try to manage a reef herb when I was in Afghanistan, and it just went Pete Tong. And so like our reunion happened in an Airbnb in Hartlepool, didn't it? Mm-hmm. After we hadn't seen each other for 9 months. And even then it was only for a couple of days because we weren't meant to have 2 people in there. So she had to go back. And then I only really saw her when I came back to work. And so again, like really, really fortunate to find somebody who's so in tune with wanting to do business and wanting to get involved. And if you haven't got that, things are going to be a lot harder for you, especially if you haven't set the relationship up from the dynamic that you're going to be the one in control and you're on your journey. Because if you're constantly giving in and you're not really setting the boundaries, it's going to be very difficult to change that dynamic and say, listen, we're not going out for dinner today. We're not going out on a holiday today. I don't care if we've got like £50,000 in the bank. I'm still driving that 20-year-old car. And no, I'm not buying a new van and so on and so forth. And I never had to do any of that. It's very much you forcing me to be even more frugal, which is really, really fortunate. Hence why I needed to get rid of her when I decorated the home. Because I don't think I'd have been able to have it this ostentatious. And if we could do it again, what would you do differently?
In terms of what?
If we could do the journey again.
I won't change anything because everything is make us grow and more experience. Sorry, more experiences.
Screw that. I would change a lot. I wouldn't
Why?
give those builders £10,000
No.
without giving them a contract.
Because otherwise because no one get the smooth journey.
Yeah.
If you didn't lose in the past, in the very first beginning, you're gonna lose in 10 years time. People got bankrupt.
Exactly.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people take 10 years of that journey and then they just like that. I've seen a lot. I'm a bit glad that you can face all that failure, stuff like that, the bad.
Oh, the failure. I had some
Yeah,
success as well, cutting God.
In the first year.
Yeah.
I was glad.
Yeah.
That you faced that.
Because there were a lot of failures and we'd lost a lot of money initially. Well, we thought we'd lost a lot more, but I managed to, being the complete legend that I am, go up there and save the deal in terms of cost, so we didn't lose too much. But I had to go to Kong and say, listen, we've our first investment, because I built up a pot of money and I bought my first deal in Hartlepool, and it was a dud. Like it was it was a really great deal, but it was a dud because I didn't manage the refurb, so we were going to lose money. So I had to go back and say, listen, we've sacrificed all this, and that completely and totally failed. But then no, it was like go up there, go sort it, go find it, and eventually we did get it sorted, and we managed to sell it for as much as we put into it, which again would have saved me lots and lots of time, because it would have been a year's worth of work that would have gone to waste. And that was a really difficult time, but there was never any negativity from you. It was always very positive, to keep moving forward, keep striving, just realize it's part of the process of failing.
Just listen and learn.
Exactly. And that's something I'm still trying to do, but it's
you're gonna have more coaches in terms of your journey, whatever industry that you are in, you know.
Yeah. Right, let's answer these. So we got, if any questions. She's a treasure, mate. Yep, she certainly is. Not many people can handle this type of relationship. It's like a long distance relationship. It's challenging, testing the bond and commitment of relationship. Very much so, yeah. And oftentimes it was very much take from myself. So it would be me coming back, going to sleep, and then leaving the room a mess, and then going up to then market again, and it'd be repeated the process. Well done, guys. That's so true. That's why I'm still single. Hey, listen, mate, if you sacrifice enough and you get to where you want, they'll be chasing you eventually. People really, really, really admire people that go for their goals. I mean, if you can't find somebody, and to be honest, if that was the case with me and I didn't have the support, I would be single as well. But I wouldn't be nowhere as far as I am now without Kung, for sure. And that's why we make a good couple, dear. Right, you got any more you need to say on this?
No.
Yeah. So you wouldn't change anything if we could do it again? The hardest bit was when I was away from Afghanistan, and then I went away immediately to go and do a refurb. Was there ever any thoughts in your mind? You're thinking, why are you spending so much time on property?
Not at all. You work, even now, you work 24, not 24 hours, but 7 days, obviously. Have no any off time, nothing at all. But that's why, because I know that as long as you love what you do, I don't mind. She's a treasure, isn't she? No, not like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to finish off. Thank you for joining me. You can go now.
Okay. Yeah. Go for Camelot.
Yeah. You go and see to the dog.
Okay. Bye.
Right. So moving on from that, let me just orientate the camera. Perfect. So, as AJ said there, that's why he's still single. And when you're wanting to be involved in business, and if you've got these people that are dragging you around, some people call them red lighters, you need to have the hard conversations with yourself, because you are the top 5 average of the people you spend the most time with. That it's not. This is not some nuance. This is known fact. Because you'll all bounce off each other, and you have 2 types of people. You have the people that are on the upward spiral, and you'll notice this with old people. You never get really like, oh, she's all right. You get really wonderful, happy, really great pleasures to be around old people. And you get the miserable people that complain about everything, like absolutely everything, and there's nothing you can do to please them. And there's no in between that I find, and you want to be surrounded by people who are going on the upward spiral. So your partner is really, really important. If someone's holding you back, because some people have made huge jumps, they've quit jobs that are 6-figure jobs to get into the property. Excuse me. And if you're not going to have somebody who's going to support that, because you're going to have a lot of self-doubt. Even for me, like I wasn't earning that much, but I had a really good lifestyle in the military. Like all my income was disposable because I had a room. My job was fairly easy when it was in the UK, and I gave that up to jump into property full time. And the initial jump, there's loads of self-doubt, and you could very, very easily be swayed back into working for somebody else. And when you've got a ceiling on your income, you're never going to be wealthy. When you're exchanging time for money, you're never going to be wealthy because you have a finite amount of time. You can't produce more time. You only have so many hours in the day. So you need to be earning when you're asleep. You need to be earning when you're not there. And how you can do that is by getting relatively passive income, because property isn't passive. And anyone who tells you it is a liar. That's complete bullshit. It's not passive. But what can happen is maybe out of 30 rooms, that 1 month, 25 will be passive, and you'll only spend a bit of time on 5 or 6, and that can grow, and you can systemize that business, and there's no ceiling on the amount that you can earn. And from that point on, if you really, really want to have financial freedom, you need to set up systems like that. And to take the jump, you're going to need support from your partner. And if they're not giving you support, then you need to either say, this is the red line. You either get on board, you start helping me, or there's the door. And that's my advice. If you're really, really wanting to be the best version of yourself in terms of, and I'm using property as a vehicle for that. I want to be wealthy. Don't be ashamed of saying that. There's enough money in the world for everyone to be wealthy. And it's not a case of you take from somebody else. When you're wealthy, you create it. So you take a building, for example, that's worth 100K, you pile a 60K into it, now it's worth 200K. You've created £40,000 worth of wealth that you can lend against, and that's how money enters the economy. So you're not taking from anybody when you want to get wealthy, but you do really need a good team around you. And especially if you've in a circle and you've paid into it, you paid like 10,000 or 15,000 pounds into a circle. And I mean, sort of like a property circle, and your partner saying, no, why have you done that? That's absolutely crazy. But people will spend 25,000 pounds on a brand new car. So why would you not invest in yourself, say 15 or 10 or 5 or whatever the courses are, and try and prove yourself, so then you become this economic vehicle for creating wealth, and all those around you will get wealthy. But you only make the people around you wealthy when they're encouraging you, they're giving you advice, they're not holding you back, because you don't want to deal with petty problems. And your partner is going to be the person who you spend the most time with, you should do, like when things get good. And you want them fighting your corner. You want them like holding the bags when you're punching. You want them like taking the long, boring trips. You want them to be excited about the property deals as you are. And for me, it would have been a no-go. I couldn't have been with somebody who wasn't interested in taking risks. And the previous relationship that I was in, for those of you who know me, was I wouldn't have stood a chance doing what I do now. I get away with absolute murder in comparison, but what I'm spending my time in will have a better life in the future because of it. If you've got any questions about any of this, I'm definitely not the... Hey, Lee, thanks for joining us. I've had quite a few of you here. So if you've got any questions on any of this, do feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. I'm definitely not an expert on this, but I think I've got it. Me and Colin, we've got it really, really good in terms of how we interact with each other in the business. There's never any stress. We're really open about the mistakes, and I get lots of support because of it. Because really, I'm a big fucking baby. I need lots of encouragement. I don't do things on my own. Like, although the outside product, it looks like I'm fairly successful, it's definitely not a single effort. There's so many people around me that are bigging me up, helping me out, raising finance, doing the real key things that I'm really crap at. And then just so happens that I can find the deals which is kind of one of the more rarer components. But we've got my business partner out and that raises the finance. I can't do it. I've tried and tried. I can't. I'm not very good. I've got Kung that really supports me in terms of the management and making the tenant management. We've got Joe, our good friend, who Nope. Got someone on the phone. See, I can never ever turn off. Right. So that's a tenant. So that probably means there's a problem somewhere. So I can't be too long now. And for instance, me wandering off now to go and see whatever this tenant wants. If I had a partner who was like, "You're going out again, but you went out this morning," like that, I just wouldn't entertain that. That is not something that I can entertain, because it's just useless stress that isn't gonna add anything to it. It isn't going to help me in any way and get me to where I'm going to go, because I'm going to get there no matter who helps me or not. Now I'm on the path. So I'm rambling on a bit now, but thank you for joining me. It's a bit of a short one in comparison to the one that we did last week. But in summary, when you're in a relationship and you're wanting to get a business off the ground, and normally businesses lose money before they start to make money, and that's with everything. You're going to need a partner who's back in your corner, and if they're not, then you need to show them the door, because you can't really change people. It's very, very difficult to change people, or if they want to grow with you, then you can do it as a gradual process. But there's no cutting the mustard. You either join me or you're not, and it is very much you're either with me or against me. There's no in between. And you can't entertain the negative people in your life as well. That goes for all your relationships. This isn't just like boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife. This is friends as well. You need friends to help you. You need your business partners to help you. If you want to know more about what we do, this is a shameless plug, because we've actually got a couple of deals on the go now. So we're raising finance. You can drop me a PM and we'll discuss it. Or if you want to see some of our deals, I'll add the YouTube link into the description. And you can look at a few of the developments from beginning to end. And we're going to start updating those because this deal has finished. And we're going to start updating you with the next couple of deals, because we're getting bigger now. We're doing bigger deals, more construction, more rooms added. We're buying a block of flats. We're building a house next to an existing house. So it's really, really exciting for us. And if you want to be a part of it, what we do, if you were to invest in us, we'd give you money at the end of the project, get you up to the project, say, this is how we sourced it. This is who we used to design it. This is why we've picked this many rooms because of the council regulations, etc. This is why we put the bathrooms here, etc. And you will see the deal that you invest in from the beginning to the end. So if you're wanting to learn, and I'm very much, I don't want to make money from you. I want to make money with you. That's why I'm doing the podcast. So hopefully you begin to get a few of these mindsets that creates wealth. And one of them is like not exchanging your time for money and buying luxuries with that money. And then you begin to get a little bit wealthy, and then you put that back into the company. This is the whole reason why I'm doing this, because I want to help you to make wealth. And then hopefully, because I've give you all these awesome tips, you're like, you know what, I'll invest 10 grand with them. And then on that 10 grand, we would pay you a percentage for a fixed return. For example, maybe 8%, because we can make like 30-40% on that. So it's a win-win for everyone. And that's how wealth works. We all get rich together. There's no taking. So if you're interested, or you want to get involved in property, or you've got a spare bit of money and you don't want anything to do with it, but you just don't want it sitting in the bank, letting inflation eat away at the money, because that's what it does. If you have £10,000 in the bank each year, that money loses its buying power because of inflation. So that's another little tip. Yeah, just get in touch. All right, thank you for joining me. And I hope you got as much out of that video as I did.